My name is Connair, and I'm here to talk about someone I lost about only 2 years ago, but I don't really think about it much because it really does draw up some emotions in me. Now, in my family, I grew up in a divorced home, so I did have a father figure. He was not quite the authoritarian figure that I'd hoped, but I did have a male figure in my life that would definitely smack me in the line if I wasn't listening, and that was my grandfather, Arthur P. Chesley. And we never called him by his name, or we never called him Grandpa, we just called him Papa. And unconventionally, we called my grandma Jackie. It was just Jackie and Pop. And in my family, we didn't have, I'm going to tell your father. We had, I'm going to tell Pop. And that was what really would get you going. My grandfather died of diabetes. He ended up losing his leg about 3 years ago, and he was very strong about it. Never once complained, not at all. And he was always so strong, and he always was someone that you could look up to, someone that you could just put your faith in, and if he said he can do it, it's going to be done. He served as a lieutenant colonel in the Vietnam War. He's actually in books. He wouldn't listen to his commanding officers at all. He would just tell them to go screw themselves, much like he did to his end of his days. He was always very outspoken, but he was also very loving. Drill sergeant of the family. He would let you know that you were the most loved kid in the family, but at the same time, if you just made a mistake, he was going to snap your neck in about 5 different places. But that wasn't, like, people always think about what I say, and they think, well, he's so scary, like, how could you love a guy like that? It's just the way he ran his ship. But when he died, I'll never forget that night. I actually called him. I was on my way home from college, freshman year. And usually when I called him, he kind of really liked me and my brother a lot. We were really close with him. And when I called him, his voice would perk up when he heard me. Also, he would give me shit for not saying who I was on the phone instead of just saying hi. But I called him and I was like, "Hey, Pop, it's Owen. Like, how you doing?" Didn't quite hear that jump in his voice. Just kind of knew. And he just sounded very tired. We had dinner planned that night. I was like, "We're gonna go to Vic's Pizzeria, like always, right?" He said, I don't think about tonight. It's like, my head hurts. I don't feel good." And it wasn't like Pop to cancel things. He wasn't someone to just, if he was hurting, he was hurting. Like, he wouldn't just bail out and use an excuse. And I remember the last words I said to him was, "I love you, Pop." And I hung up. Later that night, I was at my friend Aaron's with my brother. And while there, my brother got a phone call. We had known that he'd gotten worse, he was in the hospital. But I kept telling myself, he's strong, he'll pull through. The drill sergeant's gonna make it. About an hour goes by. Brother's phone rings again. I can see it in his face. He just kind of sat there, we didn't say anything, just silent. Until we just finally kind of accepted it. I didn't cry that night, though. Kind of held it back. I kind of heard him in my head going, "What are you, a pussy?" So I kind of kept it down. But there was just a somber kind of feeling throughout the whole family. Usually we were very loud, very obnoxious. There was an eerie quietness in the house. Something was missing. But something started happening that kind of started turning the family around. I kind of saw my aunts and uncles for the first time, not as my aunts and uncles, but as their brothers and sisters. I remember my Aunt Jalen was a wreck. She was always the drama queen, scouring the house looking for the will. It kind of felt like it was kind of messed up. It wasn't a time to be digging it up. She finally saw it, and she read that he wanted to be cremated, but we had already had that done. She starts crying like, "Oh, I'm so glad, that's what we could have done. Like, we did the right thing." So my Uncle Kevin, having blown his legs out like I had said before, he'd blown his ACLs, he's laying on a couch, he starts pretending to be my grandfather in the furnace going, So, like, it was just a dark joke. But it really kind of, she cried and walked off, my Aunt Jill, but it kind of really brought out that sense of humor in us again. Everything kind of started growing a little lighter. It was still somber, we were still dragging our feet, but we're starting to really play on each other. But I still remember, I never saw the dead body, didn't want to. I remember the day of the funeral. We weren't really wearing the usual things. My grandmother, she was very stoic. throughout the whole thing, the whole ordeal. And I figured since being an Army wife, he had gone off so many times that she had said goodbye enough that she was ready for it. And so we're there, and she actually had us wearing, I was wearing just the blazer and the shirt I have underneath this, because my grandma was always an avid supporter of Asbury Park, New Jersey. She was always, and she had us wear this as her shameless plug of the night. But we went to there, and I always regret not talking, not saying what I should have, not spending as much time with him as I should have. But I have a piece of him. I have his dog tags. And I wear them every day. Because they usually, from a dead soldier, they carry him on. So I wear these every day so I can carry on my grandfather's name. Thank you.
Thank you.